Welcome to Missing in Ohio, a podcast devoted to telling the stories of Ohio's missing loved ones. I am your host, Kelly Hammonds, and this is Chapter 4, The Disappearance of Meghan Lancaster. Meghan Lancaster is a missing adult from Portsmouth, Ohio. Meghan was last seen on April 3, 2013. Many of you may know Meghan's name from the Spike TV series done on the missing women of Ohio. Meghan's life took many paths, from the star high school athlete to a loving mother to a life of addiction and prostitution. In recent years, Ohio has been plagued with the opioid epidemic, as well as several women with similar lifestyles disappearing. Today I will be joined by Katie Lancaster, Meghan's best friend and sister-in-law. Katie has spent years searching for answers as to what happened to Meghan, even conducting her own investigation and hiring a private investigator. Katie, thank you for joining me today. Let's begin by you telling us just a little bit about Meghan.
Meghan was a star athlete in high school. She excelled in high school. She had a full-ride scholarship to Shawnee State University, which is our local university, to play softball. She's a great person all around. She is someone that everybody would want to know and someone that would give you the shirt off her back.
And what is your relationship to Meghan?
I know Meghan. I went to school with her at Votech our junior year, and we were best friends. And then I started dating her brother, and I married him and have been married to him for 14 years and have 5 children.
What was Meghan's life like leading up to her disappearance?
Meghan's life leading up to her disappearance was not the best life. She did give birth to a little boy who is now, he's going to be 13 in November. Her mother raises him and did raise him whenever Meghan went missing. She was into drugs and prostitution pretty heavily, and you know, she just wasn't in the best part of her life.
Tell us about the day that Meghan was last seen by family or friends.
The day Meghan went missing, she had went to her mother's house and asked her mom, said, "Mom, you know, I've got this car insurance that needs paid or I'm going to lose my license." And so her mom took her and, you know, didn't give her the money. She took her down to the insurance place. Well, they drove 2 separate cars that day. So she met her down, I want to say it's in Portsmouth. I don't know the street of where they went, but they went down there. They met at a store and got in the same vehicle and went on to the insurance company. After they paid the insurance, Marcy, her mother, dropped Meghan back off at her car, and Meghan went on her way. She said, "Mom, I'll be back to spend the night with Reese," which is her little boy. About 7 that night, she called and she said that she was at a friend's house. She was going to go home and do what she had to do, which is more than likely her drugs, before she came back down to spend the night at Marcy's, at her mom's house. At the time of her disappearance, her little boy was sick. He had his tonsils taken out, and he was a bleeder, so he was bleeding really bad from his throat and was in and out of the hospital. So she was spending a lot of time with him and at her mom's and stuff. And so her mom said after she called, she waited around for her till about midnight and thought, oh, she went home and fell asleep, you know, turned off the lights, locked the door, and went to bed. Well, the next day, Meghan didn't call. Meghan wouldn't answer her phone, nothing. So her mom got really nervous and went to her apartment and saw that her car was not at the apartment. She was afraid that she might have overdosed or something in the apartment, but where the car was not there, she thought, oh, thank God, she's just out running around. she'll call me whenever she, gets a chance or whatever. So she tried all that day. She said she was really worried. Nothing. April the 4th, she could not get in any kind of contact with her.
When did the family realize that Meghan was missing?
April the 5th rolls around. Still no word from Meghan. Meghan's drug dealer shows up at her mother's house and says Meghan's car has been parked at Rowley's Hamburger, which is a hamburger place in Portsmouth, Ohio, for 2 days now, and it's just not like her to leave her car, and she's not called me for anything. So Marcy said, okay, I'll wait till her, and I'll go down there. So they waited around, or she waited around till Meghan's dad got there, and then they went down to the hamburger place, and her car was in fact there.
And what happened when you notified the police that Meghan was missing?
The police show up, and they, act like these, that her parents are crazy or whatever. They say, well, we'll take a missing persons report, but you need to have this car towed to your house. It can't sit here. They didn't call BCI. They didn't call anybody. They didn't treat it as a crime scene. They actually had her father, they had AAA pop the lock on the trunk and had her dad crawl through the trunk to the front seat to unlock it to let the tow truck driver get in the car. So anything in the car was then ruined.
So Meghan's drug dealer shows up because he is concerned. Your family goes to the hamburger place where Meghan's car was located, and you call law enforcement. Was there anything odd with the way Meghan's car was found?
It was locked. The wallet was on the front seat of the car, open. Her car was parked up on a curve, like it was almost like she pulled in a hurry, or somebody pulled in a hurry. One tire was up on the curb, and Meghan would have never parked it like that. And also, her front seat is, and still is, like if I've had so many people come and look at her car, is still pushed all the way back like somebody 6'5" drove it, or 6 foot something. Because my husband's 6'3", and I don't even think he would. I mean, he probably could reach the pedals with it all the way back, but I don't think he'd necessarily need it all the way back. So somebody really tall drove her car.
Did law enforcement ever do any testing on Meghan's car?
Yes, they did 6 months later.
And did they find any evidence that could be used inside the car?
Well, we have a warrant that all the warrant says is, it says aggravated murder, or an aggravated kidnapping or something to that effect. And they took like 90-some items out of the car. So like it doesn't have floor mats, it doesn't have a mat in the back, in the trunk. They did find some blood beside the seat, I guess, but they are saying that was from shooting up in the car.
Was the blood tested and determined to be Meghan's?
To my understanding, but I could be wrong. And they found so many fingerprints in it, but Meghan had not had that car very long. So I don't know how they rule out what fingerprints are fresh or if they even do that.
Okay, so back to the day that Meghan disappeared. Meghan's parents filed the missing persons report. What happened then?
After the missing persons report was filed, we kind of, waited around watching to see what the police would do, and they did nothing. So I started saying, well, why isn't she on TV? Why don't we have, the news on this? Why don't we have the newspaper? Why, aren't you guys out canvassing the area? Why are you guys not asking questions? And my husband actually took a group of people in to the police department to ask why they weren't looking for Meghan, why they were not actively searching. And they pretty much told him, she's a drug addict. She's pretty much like a nobody. She'll come up somewhere. And so we started hanging flyers, canvassing the area ourselves, going to sketchy hotels, getting, things like that. And we noticed that our signs, like every place that we would put up flyers, they were being taken down. And we found out that it was more than likely the police going behind us almost and taking down our flyers. And so then finally, 9 days later, they finally okayed it to be put on the news.
Once you got approval from law enforcement and Meghan's first news story aired, did the investigation seem to take off?
It definitely got more people involved in it because it was just like a small group of people, a small group of friends, and family. And then there were some bigger groups that helped before it hit the news, like a couple rehab facilities and stuff helped with searches. People led searches, but it did seem to get more interest sparked in her case, but not from law enforcement.
When was the first time your family could see that law enforcement was actively investigating Meghan's disappearance?
There has never been a time that we have seen that law enforcement was actively investigating Meghan's case. Never.
Before Meghan's disappearance, had she ever taken off before?
Never. Never. She never went a day, even a couple hours, without talking to her mother and her son.
When you noticed there wasn't much investigating being done on Meghan's disappearance, you started your own investigation. Can you tell us about your investigation?
Yes. When I saw that law enforcement was not doing anything and not stepping up to the plate, my husband and I, we started, doing things ourselves. And we made like a Facebook page and different things to get Meghan's face out there. We promoted it. We, asked the public for help. We have not gotten a whole lot of solid things from it. But if you ask somebody around here, they know who Meghan is. So we're praying that out of, the stuff that we have done, that eventually something will come of it.
Did you find any clues or do you have any theories as to what happened to Meghan?
Yes. So whenever we started investigating, we went through Meghan's apartment and we found what people would call a black book. And in that book, it had names and numbers of people that she would, for lack of better words, service, and prices that they would pay. So on one, for example, there was a person by the name of Michael Moran, and they were, his price was like $80. And he is an attorney in Portsmouth, Ohio. And that is my theory is what happened to Meghan. I believe that judges and lawyers like himself have taken her, and I don't know if they've trafficked her or if they've killed her. But I do know that I think that somebody is going to tell us eventually what they did. And there was also a guy by the name of Captain Lynn Brewer. His name was under E. His name was in there was E, and the phone number was his house phone number. And he worked for the department that is investigating, or he did work for the department that is investigating her disappearance.
Have you ever spoke to Mike Moran about his number being in Meghan's black book?
Oh, yes, many, many times. And his response is he doesn't know her. He doesn't know how she, not really he doesn't know how she got his number, but because everybody knows Mike Moran's number in our town. It's his cell phone number. It's been his cell phone number from what I take for years. It's also his law office number. So, like, if you call his law office, he answers his own phone all the time. But he doesn't know why she would have it in there. He does not know why she would have it for people that she danced for, because that's what it says at the top of the paper. And he never knew her. He said, well, he'll say, I mean, I knew of her, but I didn't know her like that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Can you tell me what you have found out about Mike Moran since Meghan disappeared?
Yes, Mike Moran, there has been an FBI affidavit come out about him. And the judge, which he's not the judge anymore, he resigned, but his name is Judge William Marshall. The affidavit stated Meghan's name in it and stated that they were that Michael Moran was being investigated for human trafficking, white slavery, and gang-related crimes. Meghan's name was stated in it, stating that he was being looked at for the disappearance of Meghan Lancaster and Jennifer Shepard, who's murdered. She's a murder victim.
Did you speak to Captain Lynn Brewer about his number being in Meghan's black book?
Yes, I spoke to Captain Lynn Brewer about his name and number. Well, it wasn't his name, but his number being in Meghan's black book, and it escalated, but his answer was that I wrote it myself, and that it was a number to his alarm system. He has no clue how I would get a number to his alarm system. And that day he actually took me to jail for persistency to disorderly conduct.
What was the outcome of your arrest?
It was dropped.
What possible reason would Captain Brewer give you as to why he thought you would write his name in Meghan's book?
He did not give me a reason. I mean, why would I just pick him out of everybody down there in the whole police department, pick him to pick on? It doesn't make any sense.
Do you believe that it is Meghan's handwriting in the black book?
Yes, and I actually, whenever Meghan and I were so close, she did some tests for me in school, or paperwork. I don't know if it was really, it says a test at the top, but she did these papers for me. And I just found them a couple days ago going through some stuff from high school. So I have her handwriting, and then I can give my handwriting analysis. Like, I can give somebody mine, my handwriting sample, to go against to show that it is not my writing.
Meghan's case received some attention from the TV series. Can you tell us what that series is?
Yes, it was Gone, the Missing Women of Ohio.
Did you see any effects from Meghan being on the series?
The only effects that, the show did not help or hurt us, really. The only thing it did do was get Meghan's face out there more. But since that show, and since before the show even aired, there has been no contact with Spike TV. They have not offered any more help. It has been very disappointing in what we have gotten from them from this show. You know, whenever they sold us this show, whenever they told us about wanting to do the show, they sold it to us, to all of our families, as they weren't going to leave until it was done. They were going to see this through, and they definitely have not saw anything through.
Obviously, as you know, there are a lot of missing women from a relatively small area in Ohio. The TV series was trying to see if any of these women are connected to each other. To the best of your knowledge, was Meghan connected to any of the other women?
A couple, not all of them.
What women do you think Meghan could be connected to?
Now, Charlotte Trego also had Moran as a lawyer. So, that's the only possible connection with her. And then Jamie Bowen came to the same rehab down here in Portsmouth as Meghan. That's the only possible connection to her.
You said Michael Moran was also Charlotte Trego's attorney. So does that mean that Meghan used him as an attorney as well?
No, Meghan didn't use him as an attorney, I don't think. But that was like her first job. Meghan's first job was a vacuum salesman for the man.
Oh, so even though Mike Moran told you he only knew of Meghan, he in fact did know Meghan and employed her at one time?
Yes. Yes, he had picked her up several times from my mother-in-law's house. And we've had several people report that Meghan was in an accident with him before she came up missing. I've never, said that, but we've had several people come to us and tell us that.
On the TV series, it is portrayed that Meghan was an informant or snitch. Do you know if this is true?
This is what I know. I know in my heart Meghan was not an informant. She was threatened several years before she came up missing, like 2010, that if she did not call this drug dealer back, that she would lose her son and none of us would ever see him again. She did not wear a wire. She did not do anything but do what they told her because she was scared for her son's life. She did not go to court against the person, nothing. She was not an informant.
So I want to clear something up that you stated in the series. It seemed on there you believed Dollar Bill was responsible for Meghan's disappearance. Today you shared with us the theory of what you think happened to Meghan. So just for the record, do you believe Dollar Bill is responsible for Meghan's disappearance?
Absolutely not. Okay, how that happened was I said he possibly could have been a man that I saw at a hotel. Possibly, but they took possibly out of it.
You told me another strange story that had to do with law enforcement and them requesting a picture of Meghan's son. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. The detective on the case, and he's a Brewer, Detective Steve Brewer, went to my mother-in-law's house and requested a recent picture of her son, and he said that it was for the reasons of showing or using him as a sympathy card when questioning potential people that took Meghan or hurt her.
Did your mother-in-law give him the photo?
Yes, she did.
Since Meghan went missing, I know you have spoke with many families with missing loved ones and have done a lot of research. Have you ever heard of law enforcement making this kind of request before?
Never. Never in history has that ever happened, I don't believe.
Is Meghan's whole family in agreement with you and what you think happened to her?
Her mother and father, yes. I don't talk much to the other family about it, no.
Tell me about some of the events you have had for Meghan.
We do, and her birthday's coming up, so I'm open for ideas. So anybody out there that has any ideas, please send them to me, because I've done a lot of different things. Last year, we had a march, a peaceful demonstration in front of the courthouse for the first part of the day. The second part of her birthday, we had a concert and birthday cake and balloon launch. So I'm open for, different things for her birthday. I don't know if I want to do an awareness this year about either her or human trafficking, or I'm not sure.
When is Meghan's birthday?
October 24th.
If anyone out there would like to help Katie plan an event to honor Meghan on her birthday, you can contact Katie through our Missing in Ohio Facebook page or through our Missing in Ohio group page. She will be happy to hear all ideas that you have. Another thing Katie is looking for help on is information on satellite imaging. She has recently spoke with many people about it, but she is looking for more information. Technology like this could be so beneficial in helping solve missing persons cases, and especially in Meghan's case, where if we could just see if Meghan was driving her car or who was driving her car. If anyone out there has any information on satellite imaging, please reach out to Katie as well. For the next part of my interview on the disappearance of Meghan Lancaster, I will be speaking with Lily. Lily is a private investigator hired by the family when they noticed very little investigating was being done on Meghan's disappearance. Some of you may remember Lily from Missing in Ohio Chapter 3, The Disappearance of Barbara Frame. Lily is the private investigator for both Barbara Frame and Meghan Lancaster. Lily, let's start with you telling us how you got involved with Meghan's case.
Okay. I started working on Meghan's case about a year after she come up missing. So there were a lot of things that went on that I was not part of, and I had to do some catching up to research and investigate to find out what had happened from the time that she come up missing to the time that I took over working on Meghan's case. And I did some research from the very beginning, of at least the first 48 hours of what happened to Meghan from the time that she was reported missing. And it was quite interesting, some of the different areas of interest to research, and from being a snitch to being in human trafficking to being dead. And so it's been quite a challenge.
What theories do you most actively investigate when it comes to Meghan's disappearance?
I just think that, there is a possibility Meghan could be hiding because she owes so many people money and afraid to come back. But there's no evidence of anybody fighting her, seeing her, or hearing from her. There is a possibility that somebody thought she was a snitch and did kill her and throw her body somewhere and has not, we don't know where. There is a possibility, and the evidence of the snitching does not weigh a whole lot. There is a possibility that she wanted to stop working for Mike Moran, and that wasn't going to happen, so she was put in human trafficking. There's a lot of evidence bearing that. So those are the three areas that we've looked at, and the most evidence is the one in human trafficking.
What are some of the reasons that you lean towards human trafficking when it comes to Meghan's disappearance?
Well, first of all, the drugs and the prostitution. Those are two key elements that are used or that draw traffickers to use these girls. And I've got evidence and testimony of people that there are some variables that indicate human trafficking. One, for example, is when somebody from law enforcement approaches Meghan's mother and wants and demands a picture of her son, and it must be an updated picture. And the officer has said that we will be using this as a sympathy card to get people to feel sorry for Meghan and come forward with information. Now, somebody that I've been involved in human trafficking, I've done numerous awareness events, and there is no way that anyone would use a child in his photo to try to find a missing adult. That is not something that you do ethically in the law enforcement field and looking for a missing person. Now, in the world of human trafficking, yes, they do use children's pictures, sons and daughters, and they use this as a threat to that individual that they will do what they tell them to do or this person will be hurt. And this is just one facet that they use to manipulate and control these young people to do what they want them to do. That is a very good indication of human trafficking. Another indication is somebody had overheard Meghan saying that she no longer wanted to work for a specific attorney or a judge. She wanted to stay home and take care of her child. And that was not going to happen. Meghan has been seen numerous times with traffickers. She's been seen with an attorney in town that was using her. She was seen in a Walmart in a provocative outfit and told somebody that she was going to go do a party for an attorney. So there are a lot of different things that is out in the open. I'm not going to divulge any confidential information, but the information that I am giving on this podcast is information that is common knowledge to people in the community, and it's already been exposed. But I have a multitude of information and witnesses leading to this. I cannot say the certain circumstances or say any names for the sake of safety.
I know your investigation into Meghan's disappearance is very active, and there are a lot of things that you cannot talk about. But can you address some things you have done in your investigation and any tips you have had?
Well, from listening to all the tips and hearing what people had to say, and granted some of them were legitimate and some of them were not. So we had to weed out and we had to search and seek fact from fiction. And some of the individuals that wanted to just participate but really didn't have enough evidence behind what they were saying or enough proof behind what they were saying for it to really be a valid tip.
Do you know if any of the tips that you have received have been shared with law enforcement?
Well, there's been a lot of information that has been provided to law enforcement, and they've never acted upon it. I have an individual that had Meghan's phone and called law enforcement and reported that he had her phone and that he needed for somebody to come and get it. He needed to turn it in to no avail. Nobody returned his call. Nobody contacted him, and nobody's retrieved her phone. There's been numerous individuals that have called the police and said what they knew about Meghan, and there's not been any action at all from law enforcement as far as following up on some of the leads that was provided.
The Spike TV series made it sound as if Meghan was a snitch. In your investigation, have you found this to be true?
We were able to exclude Meghan as being what some people want to call a snitch. Yes, she had the reputation, but many people have the reputation of being a snitch. Meghan was from the streets, and she knew that one of the codes on the street was not to be a snitch. So violating that code would definitely cause somebody to get killed. And Meghan knew the streets well, and she knew what the code was. So if Meghan did do any snitching at all, it would be because she was forced. And there are a couple of situations where she was forced to participate with a situation, or she would not be able to see her child again. She was threatened with that by someone in power. And there was definitely one situation where Meghan did have to participate in something that she didn't want to participate in, but she didn't want to pay the price for that. But as far as being just your typical snitch, Meghan was not a snitch. And Meghan knew a lot of drug dealers. Meghan knew a lot of drug addicts. She knew a lot about the streets, and she knew what would happen if she did. Meghan, once she got into the drug scene, she definitely got on the slippery slope of addiction, which was part of dealing with all sorts of people. It's going from drug dealers, drug users, drug abusers, law enforcement, corruption, people in power. They were all part of Meghan's life. And there's a lot of evidence that proved that Meghan had connections with a variety of people within the community, both street people and people in power. I don't believe that Meghan was a snitch. I don't believe that Meghan was killed because of being a snitch. But there is a lot of evidence that lead towards the possibility of human trafficking.
Tell me about the FBI affidavit that has been filed.
There is a sealed affidavit that has been filed, and it is naming a lot of people in Portsmouth that are guilty of corruption, drug trafficking, human trafficking, and the attorneys that there is an attorney, there's a judge, there's law enforcement, local law enforcement people, and others that are in this sealed affidavit that the FBI has. Now, when this indictment comes down, I might interject, said this was in 2015 that they retrieved this. The law enforcement, FBI, takes a while to get a thorough investigation. But I hope when the indictment comes down and these traffickers and the pimps, the drug dealers that are in power, in position, and are contributing to the corruption, I hope that they will realize that they really probably should ask for a plea deal if they are indicted. And I would like to challenge the prosecutors to say if these people are willing to release the location of the missing girls and release information as to who killed some of the murdered girls for a lesser plea deal, that would really help solve a lot of cases. But this is going to get revealed. Portsmouth is going to find out who all these people are that's in that's doing the corruption, police corruption and trafficking, drug trafficking and all. And some of them are in their 70s. And spending the next 20 years in prison is not a great way to spend your retirement. So this is going to come down, this affidavit is going to come down, there's going to be an indictment, and there's people that are named in there, and I just hope, I pray that these people will make a plea deal and say where these girls are that are missing. Where is Meghan? Where is she? Is she in the Middle East? Is she in Mexico? Is she somewhere here in the United States? Where is she? Because I don't believe that she's dead. I believe she's trapped. And then some of the girls that have been murdered, and men that have been murdered because of drugs. I will hope that the federal prosecutors will work with these people to reveal this information so that they can get a lesser sentence instead of spending retirement in prison.
On the TV series, they wanted to connect Meghan to the missing women in Chillicothe, Ohio. In your investigation, have you been able to connect Meghan to any of those missing or murdered women?
I don't find anything that's connected Meghan to those women, but I have found individuals that could be responsible for those missing girls, which would be the same people that are responsible for Meghan, but Meghan herself not being connected with these girls. If that makes sense. Some of these people in this sealed affidavit are responsible for some of the girls in Chillicothe. And they are responsible for Meghan, but I don't think that Meghan herself is connected with those girls. I think that the connection of people that are guilty know the people that are responsible for Meghan. There's a connection there. It's just a big web of corruption, a web of drug trafficking, a web of human trafficking. And I hope that you have another podcast on Meghan's case to where I can give you all this other information that I have that's very valuable and a lot of validity to it, but it's not timing yet. It's not time to release that information yet. But yeah, the connection, there is a connection because all these people know each other. They all deal together. And I think that the people that knew Meghan, people that are responsible for Meghan, know the people that are responsible for the girls in Chillicothe.
Do you expect that this information will help solve Meghan's case?
I have several more people that are interested in providing information to me. And it appears to be valid information, but I would like for them to say it under oath and provide a signed statement to this effect. There's many, many, many people that know, but are afraid because of the corruption. But, excuse me, I think that I anticipate something exploding on this case soon, very soon.
Is there anything that you would like to say to our listeners?
So I just want to encourage anybody that has any information, if they want to come forward with it, if they want to remain anonymous, that's great, that's fine. They can give me a call, 740-252-6958, or they can email me at piandbeyond@yahoo.com. And anyone that knows anything that might help to find Meghan or any information on the girls that have been murdered, I just challenge you to give us a call and let us know and help us solve these cases.
Would you mind giving us a summary of your thoughts on Meghan's disappearance?
My name is Lily Paisley. I am a licensed private investigator through the state of Ohio. I have been working on Meghan Lancaster's case since 2014. It was quickly that I realized that Meghan fell into the slippery slope of drug addiction and prostitution, which led her into a life that she struggled to get out of. She soon found herself surrounded and controlled by other drug addicts, drug traffickers, the rich and the poor, and those who are in corruption, and those who benefit from her lifestyle. The corruption in the community of Portsmouth, Scioto County, is the underlying dynamic that contributes to the drugs and the prostitution. Corruption breeds money, and it breeds power. The drugs are sold only one time. Once a person purchases the drugs and uses the drug, gets high, it's done. It's over with. They have to go purchase more. Girls are sold in one day, over and over and over again, multiple times. When girls become addicted, it's easy for those who are in corruption to force these girls to do things in the name of drugs. However, several years into this lifestyle, Meghan's voice was heard by several people that she no longer wanted this lifestyle. And her voice was heard by several people that she wanted to be clean so she could take care of her son. Meghan's goal was to be a better person. But the trafficker's goal, or those in corruption, was to gain from her weaknesses. Those in power would not allow Meghan to be free. There is too much evidence that supports Meghan wanting out. She was trapped, and it is our mission to set her free. So I challenge you, If you're listening to this and you have any information or any evidence or any proof that would substantiate us locating Meghan, I encourage you to bring forth this information. If you want to remain anonymous, that's fine. But I challenge you to help us to give this family closure. I challenge the people that know where Meghan is or know who did what to Meghan to please come forth for the sake of this family. Now, those who were involved in that sealed affidavit, if you're listening, just know that it is time to plea deal. To set Meghan free for a lesser sentence after spending retirement years in prison by no means is compared to retirement years on the golf course. It's almost over and it's time to choose. Please contact me at 740-252-6958. You can send a text or you can call. Or you can email me at piandbeyond@yahoo.com. Our goal is to set Meghan free. Our goal is to give the family closure. If you have any information, please come forward. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast.
Here are some of my thoughts on the disappearance of Meghan Lancaster. Meghan's disappearance causes so many questions for me. Where did she go? Who was she with? Who drove her car if it wasn't her? Why hasn't her case been actively investigated by law enforcement? What exactly was Meghan trying to say in her black book? To me, Meghan's black book is one of the most telling clues that she left behind. Not only was this book full of Meghan's drug contacts, but also contained information on the Johns Meghan serviced while prostituting herself. Some of those names and or numbers that Meghan kept record of were men in high-ranking positions, including one that up until very recently was one of the officers investigating her disappearance. The investigation was so careless that her car, which could have been a potential crime scene, wasn't even searched for 6 months after Meghan's disappearance. Not only was the car not searched, but it was contaminated at the request of law enforcement and AAA by having her father crawl through the trunk in the front of the car. This in itself is puzzling to me. Why wouldn't AAA just unlock the door to gain access to the car? It doesn't matter the lifestyle choices that Meghan made. What matters is she is missing and her family wants and deserves answers. The fact that Meghan's drug dealer was so concerned after discovering her car tells me that Meghan's family weren't the only ones that found it odd that she had not been in contact. I am in agreement with the Lancaster family that regardless of Meghan's addiction, she would not have just taken off and not have contact with her family, especially her son. Whether Meghan met foul play or a victim of human trafficking, I am unsure. But I am sure that the investigation or lack of investigation by law enforcement has harmed Meghan's case and the chance to get answers. Is there corruption in this small town in law enforcement? What I can tell you is I'm not the only one asking that question. There is an FBI indictment that mentions a couple of the names we have heard from Katie and Lily today. I will make that document available on our Missing in Ohio Facebook page for everyone to see and form their own opinions as to what happened to Meghan Lancaster. From growing up in a small town, I can say with experience that there are no secrets in a small town. Someone knows what happened to Meghan Lancaster, and it's time they come forward and bring answers to the Lancaster family. If you would like to continue following Meghan's disappearance, join the discussion on the Finding Meghan Lancaster 2013 Facebook page. Meghan Lancaster is a missing adult from Portsmouth, Ohio. Meghan was last seen on April 3, 2013. Her car was found parked at a Rally's fast food restaurant. Meghan is a white female, approximately 115 pounds and 5 foot 6 inches tall, with blonde hair and brown eyes. If you have any information on the disappearance of Meghan Lancaster, please contact the Portsmouth Police Department at 740-353-4101. Missing in Ohio is an affiliate of Missing Person from Ohio, a Facebook page dedicated to helping missing persons in Ohio. Here is a message from Lori Davis on how Missing Person from Ohio can help you if you have a missing loved one.
Missing Person from Ohio is an outlet for those with missing loved ones where we can publicize their case. I can help ensure that they are listed on the correct organizations. I can talk to the family members about steps that they can take to try to help keep the publicity out there for their missing loved one. And I can also just work with that family to let them understand that someone cares, that we are a group of individuals that really want to help, and we're doing this for the right reasons. We're doing everything that we can to help them bring their missing loved one home. And if we're not able to bring them home, we can at least help support them during the time while they're missing.
If you have a missing loved one and would like us to help tell their story, please contact us in one of the many methods listed in the show notes. Missing in Ohio can be found on Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, and many of the other platforms you enjoy. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can email us at missingpersonsinohio@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to Missing in Ohio, Chapter 4, The Disappearance of Meghan Lancaster. Tune in next time for Chapter 5, The Disappearance of Amanda Ward Romine.